Morning, YouTubers. This morning we're going to do a quick review on the Solo stove. I've had this for about a year now. Used it several times while camping, backpacking, etc. It comes in a nice little bag. It's even labeled so when it's in your pack you can tell what it is. I kind of like the fact that it's got the bag on it. Just makes it nice, neat, easy to carry. This is the Solo stove. As you can see, it's been used a few times. This is an absolutely wonderful piece of equipment in that it's all self-contained. Everything fits right down inside. This is your cooking ring and it nests down in. Then it sits right back up on top as such. It has a convenient place that you can input fuel while you're cooking on it. The interesting thing about this gas combustion stove, as air comes in through the bottom in these holes, down right underneath of this grating and back behind, there's some holes in there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but some of the airflow that comes in here comes in just underneath this ring, comes in right underneath this ring here, and then the rest of the air comes up and it comes out these holes up here. And as that air comes in these bottom holes, superheats as it comes up the side, and then it's reintroduced in here at a heated temperature and in essence double burning the wood. And then when the flames are real high, then it superheats the exhaust and burns it extremely clean. As a lot of people out there have said that this is very efficient unit. Burns down a few minutes after you're done cooking. All the ashes are virtually burned down to white ash. You can dump it out. Heck, you can even hang on to this thing because around the base it doesn't even get cold. So we're going to use that today, and we're going to boil up a little bit of water for our stump chat this morning. I've got the Solo Max cook set over here. It's all nested together nicely. I keep a bandana in here stuck inside. I've got an old cheap fire starting rod in here. It's got some magnesium, a secondary one of these. I keep several other ones around because this isn't going to last very long, but it's a nice addition to keep handy just in case. Set that off to the side. Keep a Crown Royal bag. Inside the Crown Royal bag I just keep various things, lighters, extra cordage. I've got the Pathfinder schools, flint and steel. It's tucked away inside this bag. It's got their little nifty logo on it. Never go anywhere without a flint and steel. What else have I got in there? Oh, I've got eating utensils. These I just picked up. It's the Ozark Trail. Kind of a neat item on this. Comes apart when you open up the handles on it. Now your spoon, your fork, and you've got a knife. It does have a corkscrew for the wine connoisseurs that are out there and might actually be camping with us. I found this set to be somewhat heavy in general, but overall it just works so well. And then you can see there's the two pins on there. The two sides just come back together. Once you clamp these utensils down, then the whole unit's solid again. And again, I just carry that around. I may switch over to some titanium stuff. I've got water purification tablets, a few little pieces of cordage in here, Visine for when the smoke gets in your eyes. So all in all, this is just the little kit that I carry with all of my fire starting stuff. Down inside here I keep an extra paper towel in here, again just for dampening down the sound, etc. And I carry a couple of P38s, a large one and a small one. That way you've always got the availability to open up a can or do whatever. In today's discussion, these won't be typically terribly relevant. But again, these are good sized pots and pans. They nest together. This is 800 milliliter boiling pot here. This one will carry up to 16 ounces of water, 400 milliliters. I think today we'll just utilize this particular one, set it right up on top here. And basically what I'm going to do is just boil some water and make some green tea this morning from Lipton's. So, without further ado, let's get started and see how the Solo stove works. Get this out of the way a bit. I'm just going to use some bottled water here this morning. Another thing, because these take relatively small pieces of wood that you can put down inside of here, I pre-break a bunch of these. I keep them in a Tupperware thing. In fact, I've got a giant one. You know, it's about, I don't know, 2 feet long and 1.5 feet wide, maybe that deep. 8 to 10 inches deep, and I keep it full of this as well. That way I've always got dry tinder on hand. In my backpack or my EDC, my everyday carry, I keep a gallon bag with a bunch of these pre-broken in it. That way, no matter what situation I'm in, I know I've always at least got some dry kindling that I can put in here and get a nice fire going, get things squared away so that I can have a meal or a nice brew up of some tea in the morning. But these I keep at the house, obviously. But again, I keep a 1 gallon bag full of these in my backpack, my EDC. That way I've always got a way to start a fire. So, without further ado, we'll get into this here. I keep a few cotton balls soaked in Vaseline in a football player's card, or whatever you guys call those. I'm not a huge sports fan. I do like watching sports games on occasion, but it's not the way. My life does not depend upon that. Inside here I've got some cotton balls that were soaked in Vaseline. Don't need quite this much. One thing I did discover on these is that I had melted down the Vaseline and then soaked the cotton balls in it, and unfortunately, wow, did they take up and absorb way too much Vaseline when you do that. It actually kind of makes them a little bit hard to light at times. As you can see, as I'm trying to pull this apart and expose fibers in here, it's somewhat difficult due to the amount of Vaseline that's in there. Of course, once it gets started, man alive, you've got a 7-minute fire starter going there. I'll set that down inside here. Works out good because one of the things you can do with this then is you can coat your lips with the Vaseline. You can rub it around on your hands, keep them moist when you're out there in the woods and such. Obviously it absorbs really quickly. The other tin that I carry is an Altoids tin, obviously, with a Ranger band on it, which is just an inner tube that I've cut. I put a hole in this already. I carry a little bit of dryer lint. I've got char cloth in here. I'm currently out of lamp material, lamp wick, but I'm going to pick some more of that up probably later on this afternoon when I go into town. But this is a nice thing to keep in your pack. Again, this is part of my EDC, my everyday carry. That way I can always make new char cloth if I need to. These are just inner tube, bicycle inner tubes known as Ranger bands. Tends to hold everything nice, and as you can tell, we've made some char cloth with that previously. Get some of this out of the way here. This is my Mora knife, and I've done a review on this previously. It's online if you want to see that. Made a few modifications to it, obviously, and then I set it up so I can carry my ferrocerium rod on the outside. So I'm going to disconnect this. That's it. Pull it off. We'll use this to get the fire started here this morning. Maybe. Oh, and there she goes. Another successful adventure in fire starting. Set that off to the side. While that cotton ball is getting after it, we'll just start feeding in some of this nice dry tinder here. Should take off and go relatively easily. Now I'll load it up a little bit. I've got some smaller stuff in here, but with that cotton ball, that'll burn for several minutes like that, especially with as much Vaseline as in there. Good old petroleum products. This should not take too long at all. Now, one of the things I see a lot of people do is they'll load these things up as soon as they've got their fire going, and they'll start to immediately put their pot on it. One of the things you have to do is you have to let this thing get hot enough so that when the air comes in these side holes and comes up through the top, it gets superheated. In fact, when it superheats, you'll start to see jets of flame coming out of those holes that are in there. That's when you know you've got it hot enough and it's at the proper position and temperature to do to do what you want it to do, and that's to cook efficiently and burn efficiently. Now obviously that's a nice hot little fire. It's forcing me back here a little bit. Maybe I'll be nice to myself and move away. So we'll give that a minute to get started here. In the meantime, we'll take our cup. This is the inner nesting pot for that Coleman Solo Max. And you can put up to 16 ounces of water in it. One of the nice things, I'm not sure if you can see that in the sun, but it has graduation marks on the inside here. Tells you how many milliliters and such. It's reversed, but it's also on the outside so that you've got another way to determine how much liquid you're putting in here. This is your basic 16, almost 17 ounce bottle. They get smaller all the time and don't tell anybody. So I'm just going to do 16 ounces of water here, right up to the mark, and that's all ready to go once our fire gets to the point where we can cook on it. Obviously this doesn't take very long for this thing to get nice and warm. Keep a little stirring stick handy. You got to put these down around the edges here a little bit in order for this to sit on the lip that's on the inside. So we'll give that just a minute. Ooh, you can already start to see the jets coming out of there from the heat coming up where it's doing its second burn. So basically gasification is the term that's used for that. So we're just going to get a little coal base built up in here. Get this thing to moving. Now I will say this much, this burns efficiently and it burns quickly. So sometimes you got to kind of stay on top of this, getting it here, because it will flat out take care of these little twigs. And that's the nice thing about this stove. No matter where you're at, you're always going to be able to find twigs, maybe some pine cones, you know, big piles of grass. Where I come from, we call it squaw wood, and that's the dead leaves and such that are, or dead branches rather, that are on the bottom side of the trees that you can reach up and snap off, which is always good after it rains because that's typically not as dry, or correction, not as wet as the stuff that's on the ground. So we've got us a nice little fire brewing in there. It is looking really good at this point. We'll add a few more out of the old stash of dry twigs here just to keep that going. Again, you know, it's like any other fire. You want to have a nice little base of coal going in there. Throw in a few of these heftier pieces. That just kind of keeps things alive, keeps that coal base coming up nicely. And again, we're starting to see, over here along the sides, you can start to see the jets where the air is being drawn in from the bottom, being pumped back into the top, and it's creating a secondary fire. Now obviously we've got a little breeze blowing this morning, so I guess we'll see how that affects the overall operations of things. I think we've got a pretty decent little fire going there. We'll go ahead and put this ring on. I'll put it here so that you can see how we keep adding fuel to it as we go along. And right here, maybe I'll find a slightly more secure spot on the stump here. Something a little more level. That seems to be doing the trick. Oh yeah, much better. It's like anything else, you want to get it stable. You want to ensure that things are doing it the way they're supposed to. So, I'll grab my watch and we'll see how long this takes. All right, well, it's 9:16 on a Sunday morning. It's quite lovely. It's about, I don't know, supposed to get down to 28 degrees last night, and I think when I started this, it was probably already up to about 33, 35 degrees. I figure we started this about, well, I've got 9:16 and 30 seconds, and it's probably been on there for a minute now, so we'll call it 9:16. Just to see what happens. We'll keep adding some fuel to our fire here. Keep a nice robust flame going. And this is nice having the cutout here. You certainly get more fuel into your fire. Keep this thing going. And it seems like you feed it a lot just because of the size of this. This is the original Solo stove. It's a little smaller than their new titanium version that's out there, but nonetheless, it only takes a handful of twigs when you think about the size associated with the pieces of wood that we're putting in here. This thing is just incredible. Now I could put the lid on this, that would make it boil up a little bit quicker. But nonetheless, we're going to see how this works in an open top. Again, we've got 16 ounces of water in the little Solo cut or Solo Max Coleman cook set here, and we'll see how this does overall. Okay, here we are. It's 9:21, so it's been about 5 minutes. So far, we've got bubbles on the bottom of the pan. It's not too far away from boiling. Okay, so here we are. It's been 10 minutes. Just now pulling over to 9:27, so basically 11 minutes. It is 39 degrees. I checked while I stopped the video there for a minute, and again, it's 39 degrees out this morning. Got a slight breeze, nothing too bad, maybe about 10 knots of wind or so, but we're already at a rolling boil here. So I think I'll just be safe and not try to burn my hands, since my handles have actually been on the downwind side of the fire. So I'm going to reach up, pull that off. Oh, that's going to be lovely. And again, you can see how well that's burning in there. Got a couple of tea bags here. Yes, this is my backyard, so I will clean it up. Basic, pack it in, pack it out scenario. I think I'm going to put 2 of these in there since it's a full 16 ounces of water. I always tear these things up for some reason. I think I'll go ahead and deploy the lid handle on this one. And we'll cap that off a little bit here. See if we can get that to stay nice and hot. So the flames have died down a little bit on this. The ring is deployable, as you can see. Put my other glove on. Safety first, safety first. And as you can see, that has burned down rather dramatically. And it just takes this wood and it'll turn it all into that white ash that's down there. And 5 minutes from now, everything will be cool. You'll be able to pick everything up. In fact, really, it shouldn't even take that long. And again, you can pour that out right now with a set of gloves on, just to ensure that you don't burn yourself. You could stomp it out, pour a little bit of water on it. As we're in the backyard, excuse me, I'll just let that burn down a little bit. Again, what a great little concept. Fits most every one of the little cups with handles on them, the Coleman Max, and this was the smaller pot of the 2. I've got a billy pot from Zebra billy pot coming. Once that gets in here, we'll do another one and see how well this thing will do to boil up, 64 ounces of water. See what that's all about. But again, this is just a great concept, absolutely wonderful. This feels lightweight, flexes just a little bit, but so far, it hasn't even blinked an eye. Of course, it nests down inside, so you don't have to worry about it. The overall construction on this thing is absolutely wonderful. I mean, I have no complaints whatsoever. This just works as advertised. It's an absolutely wonderful addition to your backpack, your EDC, your bug out bag, whatever you want to do. If you want to have the option to be able to carry or create food, cook food and such, nothing to it. I mean, you can already see this is really burning everything down very, very nicely in there. So I'm just going to let that finish off. See how that looks. Get a halfway decent little twig here. Snap that off. Stir up the old tea bags. Oh yes, love. Ooh, that's hot. Lovely, lovely day in the backyard. Playing with some, not some new, but some outdoor equipment. And again, this is just, what a great way to spend a Sunday morning. Just out here, green tea is done. Looks to me like we've got a spectacular brew up going here. I'm pleased with the way this has turned out this morning. Handles are nice and cool. Boy, that's some hot water right there. Yeah, I think we'll let that cool off a little bit and enjoy that here in a few minutes. Anyway, Skipper T here. Thanks for playing along this morning.